Donald Trump's rise to prominence was never solely about business. It was about mastering the spotlight. Born in 1946 in Queens, New York, he grew up immersed in the world of real estate and high-stakes negotiation. His father, Fred Trump, ran a successful property business, and Donald absorbed lessons in branding, visibility, and power from a young age. By the 1980s, Trump was no longer just a businessman. He was a public figure. Trump Tower in Manhattan, the Plaza Hotel, and other luxury projects weren't simply real estate developments. They were statements of wealth, ambition, and spectacle. He understood that success alone would not secure fame. What mattered was perception, and he excelled at controlling it. Trump became a frequent feature in magazines, newspapers, and television interviews. His flamboyant style, bold statements, and brash confidence made him newsworthy even outside of business contexts. Every public appearance, from charity galas to press conferences, was an opportunity to shape his image. Television was a turning point. With shows like The Apprentice, Trump transitioned from businessman to media personality. Millions of viewers tuned in to watch him host, judge, and comment, turning his persona into a household brand. The media didn't just report on Trump, they amplified him, creating a feedback loop of visibility and influence. Trump's mastery of media was revolutionary. He understood early that being seen was as important as being successful, and he leveraged every opportunity to cement himself as a cultural icon, setting the stage for his eventual political rise. Trump's transition into politics demonstrated the power of media in shaping legacy. In 2015, when he announced his candidacy for the presidency, headlines erupted. Trump challenges political establishment. Billionaire outsider shakes up politics. The story wasn't just about a candidate. It was about a man who had spent decades mastering attention. Time magazine and other major outlets followed his every move. His rallies, speeches, and interviews became front-page news. Every controversial remark, every policy proposal, and every viral moment was magnified by the press. Headlines were no longer mere reports. They became instruments of influence. Example: during the early campaign, Trump's statements on immigration sparked international discussion. Headlines questioned the legality, morality, and implications of his proposals, but they also amplified his message to supporters. Media coverage created a cycle of attention. The more controversial the statement, the more coverage it received, and the more Trump's influence grew. This step in his career demonstrates a fundamental shift in modern leadership. In the age of instant news and social media, visibility and perception are as powerful as policies themselves. Trump's legacy began forming not just through what he did, but through how the media framed it. Step 3. Person of the Year and Symbolism. In 2016, Time magazine named Donald Trump Person of the Year. This election was not an endorsement of his policies or character. It was recognition of his enormous influence on the world stage. The choice reflected the reality that Trump's presence in public discourse was unavoidable, shaping politics, media, and society. Time's cover, featuring Trump, became an iconic representation of this period in American history. It symbolized polarization, disruption, and change. Supporters saw it as validation of an outsider shaking up a political system they believed was broken. Critics saw it as a troubling acknowledgement of chaos and controversy. The Person of the Year designation captured the paradox of Trump's impact. He was both a disruptor and a reflection of societal tensions. Time magazine's coverage immortalized this moment, showing that Trump's influence was measured not just in votes or policies, but in cultural and historical resonance. Example: beyond the cover, in-depth features examined his rise from businessman to political figure, his media strategy, and the way he harnessed attention to shape narratives. This demonstrated a key aspect of Trump's legacy. He wasn't just a president, he was a media phenomenon, and his story could not be told without acknowledging the headlines that define him. Donald Trump's presidency was unlike any before it, and one of the defining features was polarization. The media became both a mirror and an amplifier of this division. Every statement, policy, and public appearance sparked headlines that often split along partisan lines. Example: consider the 2017 tax reform. Headlines ranged from Trump signs sweeping tax cuts, economy soars, to tax reform favors the wealthy, critics say. Both sets of headlines shaped public perception, framing Trump simultaneously as a champion of economic growth and a controversial figure who benefited the elite. Time magazine and other outlets chronicled these moments with depth, providing analysis of both the political and cultural implications. Internationally, Trump's actions, such as meetings with North Korea's Kim Jong-un or tariffs on China, were front-page news. Coverage varied from historic diplomacy to reckless provocation, depending on perspective. The media didn't just report events, they created the stage for public debate, reinforcing divisions and magnifying every controversy. Trump's ability to dominate headlines ensured that he remained at the center of political discourse, turning media coverage into a key part of his influence. Step 5. Direct communication and social media. One of the most transformative aspects of Trump's presidency was his use of social media, especially Twitter, to communicate directly with the public. Traditional media, which had historically mediated presidential messages, now had to react to his tweets in real time. Example: in 2017, the travel ban executive order sparked global debate. Traditional news outlets analyzed legal and humanitarian consequences, while Trump took to Twitter to justify the policy. His tweets, short, direct, and often provocative, became instant headlines, amplified by media coverage and discussion. Through social media, Trump bypassed traditional gatekeepers, controlling narratives on his own terms. Every post could spark public debate, media analysis, and international attention. Social media became a tool for influence, enabling Trump to shape perception faster than traditional news cycles could respond. Example: even minor statements, like critiques of NFL protests or commentary on international leaders, became global talking points. Each tweet was a headline, each reaction a part of the story, and Time magazine documented these moments as part of the broader narrative of his presidency. Trump's relationship with the media was paradoxical. On one hand, he relied on coverage to maintain visibility. On the other, he frequently labeled critical outlets as fake news, framing himself as a victim of biased reporting. This dynamic created a feedback loop that magnified his influence. Example: during the 2018 midterms, rallies were covered extensively. Journalists criticized rhetoric and policies, but the very coverage drew millions of viewers and amplified his reach. Each attack on the media became a story in itself, reinforcing his narrative as a disruptor challenging the establishment. Trump's strategy revealed a modern truth. In the age of 24-hour news and social media, leaders are judged not only by decisions but by how they manage perception. By positioning media as both an adversary and an amplifier, Trump ensured he remained unavoidable, dominating headlines and public attention. Example: even events intended to be routine, press briefings, economic reports, or policy rollouts, became spectacles. Time magazine and other outlets documented these interactions meticulously, capturing the evolving dance between Trump, the media, and public perception. This complex media relationship set the stage for Trump's enduring legacy, a presidency defined as much by how the world witnessed it as by the policies enacted. The headlines themselves became part of the historical record. Donald Trump's presidency was unprecedented in many ways, but perhaps most notably in how media shaped and documented his legacy. Unlike any leader before him, Trump's story cannot be told without examining the headlines, magazine covers, and social media coverage that chronicled his every move. Media as a historical record. Time magazine, as one of the world's leading publications, preserved this record with meticulous detail. Every cover, article, and feature served as a snapshot of the cultural and political climate at the time. From his early days as a businessman to his tenure as president, the media captured the arc of his influence, his rise, his policies, his controversies, and his enduring impact on American and global politics. Person of the Year and Symbolism. Time's Person of the Year recognition in 2016 encapsulated Trump's influence. The cover wasn't an endorsement, it was a historical acknowledgement that Trump had fundamentally shaped the world's attention and conversation. The symbolism went beyond politics. It represented a moment of transformation in American society, highlighting the tension between traditional governance and media-driven influence. Headlines as legacy markers. Every headline, from Trump signs historic trade deal to impeachment trial divides the nation, became part of the historical record. These stories didn't just report events, they shaped the narrative of his presidency, influencing public perception in real time. Supporters celebrated victories amplified by headlines, while critics used the same coverage to critique and analyze missteps. Trump's media strategy and legacy. Trump's understanding of media dynamics was central to his legacy. By dominating attention, whether through rallies, tweets, or confrontations with journalists, he ensured that history would remember him vividly. In the modern era, legacy is not just written in law books or policy papers, it is shaped by how history witnesses events unfold, and Trump understood this better than most. Global influence and media reach. Trump's actions weren't just documented domestically. International media, including Times global coverage, highlighted the worldwide ramifications of his decisions. From trade wars to diplomatic summits, his presidency was constantly under the global spotlight, ensuring that his legacy was recorded not just for Americans, but for the entire world. Trump's story demonstrates a fundamental truth about modern leadership. Legacy is inseparable from media presence. Policies matter, but so does how the world perceives, interprets, and debates them. Headlines, magazine covers, and social media posts are now as vital to history as speeches and legislation. Ultimately, Trump's legacy through the media lens is a reminder of the evolving nature of leadership. He didn't just govern, he commanded attention, shaped narratives, and forced the world to confront a new model of influence. Time magazine's coverage, along with countless headlines and analyses, ensures that future generations will study his presidency not just through policy, but through the story of a leader who redefined media, power, and public perception. Trump on Time. A presidency captured cover by cover, headline by headline, a vivid chronicle of influence, controversy, and the power of perception. His legacy reminds us that in the 21st century, history is written not only by leaders themselves, but by the media that watches, records, and interprets their every move.